So welcome to everybody. Wendy and I are here today to talk about dealing with disagreements and hopefully help people get a little information about effective communication and dispute resolution. There's actually two of us doing the webinar today. So first we'll tell you a little bit about who we are. I'll go first, and then Wendy's going to talk a little bit more about what our goals are. So for me, I am a collaborative lawyer and a mediator, and I'm in private practice now for coming up on to 2 years here. And my private practice is focused exclusively on helping people collaborate to find problems that, or solutions to problems that work for everybody. So I use mediation, collaborative law, conflict coaching, restorative practices, and I also do some communication training that's based on compassionate communication, which is also known as nonviolent communication. And before that, to the bulk of my career, I worked as a Crown Counsel at Justice Canada, advising Aboriginal affairs, and I was also on the residential schools ADR pilot projects legal team. So all of that just to say mainly that I've really never been a litigator. I've always tried to find other ways that I think would help people resolve their conflicts more effectively. I've never experienced litigation as being a very effective system for resolving conflict. So that's what led me eventually to really strike out on my own and have this kind of private practice. So that is me, and I will turn it over to Wendy.
Hi, this is Wendy Johnston here. My background is very different than Darla's. I have been in the financial services industry for over 30 years.
Wendy, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second. If you could turn your microphone up a little bit, back to that gain in the audio controls there.
Is that better, Riley?
Perfect. Yep, great. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll start again. My background's a lot different than Darla's since I come from the financial services industry. Over 30 years in that industry, regional manager, all sorts of things. About 3 years ago, I started Next Step Financial Solutions because I saw a huge gap in the services that were being provided. We weren't given enough time to help people in conflict or to help people and not try to sell them something. So one of my mandates is I won't try to sell you anything. I have no commissions, just this fee for service, which is I provide you what your interest and needs might be, and then we go from there. About 50% of my work deals as a certified divorce financial analyst. I've seen over the years that financial issues cause huge stress, and I help people in business, in personal, to learn communication skills and ways to reduce their money stress. I also am and work as a certified financial planner, and if I was to say it succinctly, I'd say I help try to make people's dreams come true. Get to their interests and try to really find out and make a plan that helps them achieve those dreams. And I can't stop until I say that I'm a grandma and I have 2 absolutely exceptional grandchildren. But that's enough. Our sponsor today is the Alternative Dispute Resolution Institute of Saskatchewan. Darla and I are volunteers for that organization and part of a 6-member team in Saskatchewan. We've been speaking to groups such as yourselves for 2 years on this topic, ways to reduce conflict and non-adversarial ways of handling conflict. So we thank the ADR Institute today. You'll see our goals here. We have quite a few of them. I'll talk to a few of them. One is we want to provide information about preserving relationships. In business, whether it's with employees, clients, a partner, it's absolutely critical to preserve and build on those relationships. We also want to provide information on processes. that might be different than the Judge Judy style that you see on TV. Cooperative problem solving, interest-based problem solving. We've got Darla and I have a special interest in conflict in families, conflict in businesses, so that the parties are less effective and they can learn new communication skills. We want to provide you with some tips and some options for resolving conflict that can save you time, money, and emotional stress. So those are our goals, and let's move on. This is sort of a bit of a cycle. What happened? We were getting along. There was a great relationship. But there comes a point where there's always and will be a difference or a disagreement. It often can be under the surface. And just so we are clear, I don't believe, and Darla and I don't believe, that conflict is bad. It's inevitable. An opportunity for creativity or at least deeper understanding of the other person. Oftentimes, if it's not resolved to everyone's satisfaction, there could be distance between the people, blame, pure silence, or just a great big fight. And we'd like to suggest some other ways that you could think of communicating in conflict. If things totally break down, there could be a legal dispute, and it's a lose-lose if you go to court. Court is costly, court is time-consuming, and if you lose control of the process when you go to court. It's all about communication and what does get in the way. At this point, we just ask you to think for a little bit and recall a time when a conversation did not go the way you planned. What got in the way? So take just a few seconds here.
And you may even want to make a few notes for yourself about that.
Okay. So if you've got your conflict in mind, please see if one of our tips or our examples will answer your question. As well, you can jot down some few notes right on the chat box here to the lower left corner, and we'll answer them at the end. Or be sure, if it's something that's a little bit personal, that you can contact Darla and I at any time, and we will help you with those conflict things. So, Darla?
And so I also wanted to mention, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the presentation that we realize we're tackling a very large topic today. And so we're hoping to just find a few, give you some information, maybe get you thinking in a different direction. And if you have questions, certainly we'd love to talk to you later or in the chat box. And about the question, what gets in the way, I wanted to let people know as well that we'll be coming back to that at the end of the presentation. So for this slide about what gets in the way, I'm just going to suggest some things to you that I have experience get in the way of getting in the way of really good, effective communication that actually creates some mutual understanding. So one of the main things is judgment. So that's when things happen, like when we label other people as unreasonable or lazy or selfish or whatever other label that we might have for people. Blame, you know, when our thinking goes toward, oh, it's somebody else's fault, they caused the problem. When we have these ideas that someone else should or should not do something, people should calm down, they should stop doing what they're doing. Also unsolicited advice, which is similar to when we should ourselves and other people. But can look a little bit different. You know, if I were you, I would do this. Advice is often really useful when it's requested, but if it's unsolicited, it can really get in the way of effective communication. So just pausing there for a moment to ask you to think about these things as if they were coming your way. So if the judgment, the blame, the labeling was coming your way and you were on the receiving end of that, how would that affect your ability and your openness to working with the other person and problem solving? And the other sort of category that I've seen as what gets in the way is something I call demand. So, that happens when we try and get people to do something under sort of a threat of punishment or coercion. I often talk about it as arm twisting. When somebody quote agrees to something because they feel their arm has been twisted into it. So then they're less likely to actually keep that agreement, and they're more likely to actually find some way, because their needs have not been met. That's why they feel like their arm is twisted into agreeing to something where their needs haven't been met. So they are, we're human beings. We want our needs to be met. So if someone's arm is twisted into agreeing to something, they're going to still try and get their needs met. And so I've found that if there isn't complete agreement and there's been arm twisting going on, that really, it's going to come back and bite you at some point. That person is going to keep trying to get their needs met, or they're going to try and retaliate because their needs haven't been met. So after that really pleasant slide, thought we would slip in a little bit of, this is just a little bit of mediator humor here. We've got a bunch of giraffes sitting around a table, and the mediator in the middle there, he says, "So who wants to be the first to stick his neck out?" And the caption here, "The giraffe mediator breaks the ice with a lame joke." So it's a little bit of humor, but I also thought it was a really nice segue into talking about the importance of listening. Because if we're in a conflict, it's likely that not much listening has been happening. Listening is often the first thing that goes out the window. So, and in order to interrupt the cycle of conflict, there's someone who needs to actually be the first person to listen. And that can sometimes be scary. That's like sticking your neck out. I'm going to be the first one who's going to really listen and try to understand the other person, and that can feel counterintuitive and scary. So, but often when we're in disagreement, there's blame and there's judgment going back and forth, and one of the first things that does go out the window is our ability to listen. And sometimes I describe it as if we are in a tunnel. We're on a cell phone and we're talking on our cell phone to our friend, and everything's, we're having a great conversation, and there's meaning exchanging back and forth. And then we're on our cell phone and we go into a tunnel, and suddenly the cell phone reception is cut off, and there's no more connection, and there's no more meaning going back and forth. And so what we often do if that happens in conflict is we actually start to raise our voice and say more and more provocative words, because we want to try and get our message across to the other person. But we're in a tunnel and the reception is cut off. So it actually doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not likely to help restore the connection to raise our voices and use more and more provocative words. So what I want to suggest is that to reestablish the connection, what we can do is listen to people's deeper wants and needs. So what we do in an interest-based or a needs-based communication is we help people understand each other, and we help them improve their communication skills and collaborate to find solutions that work for everyone. And if a disagreement has been going on for a while, or there are really high stakes, then people can sometimes get stuck, and they may need help to help them get to this place of understanding each other in a deeper way, so that they can be in a place to be open to collaborating. So when I say interests and needs-based communication, what exactly do I mean? I want to try and give you a bit of an example about that. This is a really simplified example because I want to do a good job of demonstrating what this might look like. So in this example, Susan and Joe are business partners. And Susan says to Joe, our business needs an SUV. And Joe responds by saying, we don't need one. And so these are Susan and Joe's positions. Susan's position is we need an SUV, and Joe's position is we don't need an SUV. And when people get stuck at this level of communication, at the level of their positions, often that leads to judgment and blame and criticism. So some of the possible judgments people might come up with in this situation: oh, you're being inflexible, you're irresponsible, you're cheap. And when communication stays at that level, really, there's not a lot of potential solutions. And I'm suggesting to you that there's actually two. And one is that someone gives in to the other person's position, or the other option is that you fight against it. So in order to give us more options, we try and help people take people to something that I call the land of creative solutions, which is where we help people focus on interests and needs. So Susan has been able to say, instead of just I want an SUV and you're cheap, we've been able to help Susan say something more like, well, the business has really grown and I'm driving on the highway a lot more. And Joe's real concern comes up as we don't actually have a budget for a new car. And after some conversation, we uncover some of the deeper interests and needs, which is that Susan wants to feel safe while driving on the highway. She wants there to be ease and comfort while she's driving. And Joe is really concerned about financial security and stability and predictability. And often one of the needs that's comes up a lot in all kinds of conflicts is both of them wanted to be included and have partnership around decision making. So I'm hoping that you're able to see already that when we can get to this level of interests and needs, it's starting to become a little bit easier to collaborate. So on this slide are a few of the possible solutions that Susan and Joe may come up with. And these solutions are more creative, they meet people's needs, and nobody has to give in to something that they don't really want to, or that doesn't meet their needs. And just another example of getting to interests and needs in a workplace. There can often be conflict between employees or between employees and employers. And some of the deeper needs or wants that people might have that might be driving them to do things that you don't enjoy or that others don't enjoy. They could be doing those things as a strategy to meet some of these deeper needs, like to be seen and valued for their contributions, to matter, because they want financial security and a livelihood. They want to be included or belong. The last one here is often one that business owners would have. They want to make effective use of their business resources. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to see already that by getting underneath to what human beings more deeply need or want already starts to reduce the amount of defensiveness that can come up. It's much, much harder to disagree with these kinds of things because we're human beings, and almost every human being wants these things. They want to be seen and valued and to matter and to be secure. And I like this little picture down at the bottom. I don't know how well you can see it on your computers, but at the top of the iceberg is something called positions, and underneath is interest. And I thought it was a really nice visual demonstration of the expansiveness that can happen when we're able to get underneath the water to the biggest part of the iceberg, the interest. I'll turn it over to Wendy.
What we thought, thanks Darla, what we thought might be valuable to you is to take an example. It's a family example that I had the honor to work with these people on. A little bit of background. One partner was a high income earner, and he worked half the month away from home up in Fort McMurray. The other partner was a homemaker and a part-time teacher's aide. They had 3 very, very active children that were in pretty well every sport imaginable. So it was just crazy to organize the children's activities and communicate. The high-income worker wanted to save as much as possible, and he wanted to provide for his family. Sometimes when I work with families, I use information and that regards their money personality. This particular person was a saver, and I won't go into it in great detail because we don't have the time today, but a saver gets a rush from saving and likes to control things and make sure that the funds are spent perfect in their ideal. The homemaker wanted all the savings in her name to be secure. Now, her money personality type was a security seeker. So she was very forward focused. She just wanted to ensure that there was security, that she was going to be okay. Now, these money personalities come from their family of origin. They can come from the practice, what they feel comfortable with. And there's actually pluses and minuses to each personality, pros and cons, and each one is very valuable in the big scheme of things. However, each personality causes conflict, as you can see. And in this case especially, there were significant power imbalances with money knowledge. The fellow that worked up north and was the major provider for the family, he loved spreadsheets, and he had just loved analyzing and making sure that everything was just right with their finances. The security seeker, she'd opted out. This is a case when Darla was talking earlier where in conflict we sometimes stop listening. Well, that is what had happened with this group of people, this couple. So there was severe money disagreements. Money can be a huge stressor in families' lives, in businesses' lives, but this one had caused unresolved hurt and resentment, and there were very great barriers to each of them understanding the other. As we talked over, it was about 3 to 6 months, in different aspects, but the wife said, "You just don't care about me. You don't value me." Because she was not the major earner in the family, she'd been given to think that over time she wasn't valued, and she also, in reality, didn't know that much about finance and hadn't learned it. The husband, his hurt and his resentment was, "You always want more from me. I go up north, I work overtime as much as I can, I provide money and money and money, and it's never enough. Can I ever please you?" So you can see that once we got to these underlying interests, that we had a way to transform the hurt and resentment. And I'll never forget the day when this couple started talking to each other, and the husband said, he says, "You are the best mother that I've ever known. Your contributions to our family and how you've raised the children, how you've organized our family life, I couldn't have ever wished more. You're a wonderful mother." And the wife turned around in tears, But she said to the husband, she said, I know it's hard for you to be away. I know you'd love to be here with the family a lot more. You're an excellent father. You're an excellent provider. And when they can acknowledge those two things, and once the greater understanding of each other occurred, hurt and resentment dissolved, and some magic happened. After that point, once the couple had had a bit of time to think and really take in what the other had said, there was a greater understanding. And we could create a plan to address the interests of the family. Both the couple wanted to maintain a healthy co-parenting plan and focus on the children's needs. It was so much easier to do that when they understood each other and felt that they were being heard. We created a short-term financial plan. Actually, we stopped a lot of the savings because at this time they were spending about $1,500 more a month than what they earned. So by doing that and some other things that I won't go into in detail for their confidentiality, we were able to plan a secure future for the entire family. And it was language too. We started working with our assets versus my assets. And that's a very, very significant point when we are dealing with financial conflict. Communication skills. There were communication skills that I promise you will be much healthier moving forward because these people will always be parents. They have and did decide to separate and divorce. However, their parenting is going to be lifelong. And they develop patience with each other's time frames. It took a while for the mother to learn financial skills and to develop a process where she could be trusted to value herself and her abilities and gain confidence. The active living they worked on that, and their learning absolutely resulted in power sharing. Anything to add, Darla? Or?
Nope.
Okay, we'll go on to options for resolving disputes. So there's many tried and true options that we are going to discuss now for resolving disputes, and one of them is do it yourself. So if the conflict is lower and you're still talking, you can sit down and discuss differences. You can look to uncover the important needs, some of the tips we've given you earlier, and the interests, and brainstorm solutions. Keys are listening. Now, if you're not quite there, you can also be supported by coaching. And we know a number of people, including Darla and myself, who can give you some type of coaching for this do-it-yourself method.
And so if you've tried the kitchen table and it's not quite working for you, or you just really want to have the support of someone else to have your discussion, then the next sort of option down the line is mediation. It's similar to a kitchen table conversation, except for in mediation you have a third party there who is specially trained to help people communicate on an interest-based or needs-based basis. The mediator is often referred to as someone who is neutral, a neutral third party, and the mediator is neutral in the sense of they generally are not they're neutral as to the outcome, as to what agreements people make or whether they make agreements. I like to also describe mediators as, at least, and this is my philosophy of mediation and how I like to mediate. It's important to notice that to know that there's actually a range of mediation styles, and probably as many mediation styles as there are mediators. But generally, some mediators are more along the evaluative side, so they're the kind of mediator who's going to really step in and give opinions and evaluate people's positions. And then there are mediators who are more on the facilitative side, which I would describe myself as more on the facilitative side. So my philosophy is I really believe that people have the answers themselves, and that it's my job to help them uncover what those answers are. And I believe that people are empowered, and they're much more likely to keep their agreements and be able to resolve their own conflicts in the future if they've been able to come up with the answers themselves. So um, uh, I often describe myself as a mediator as someone who, I call it multi-partial. So my interest is actually in helping each person that's in the mediation. I want each person to be able to say what's important to them in a way that's most likely that the other people are going to be able to hear it, and also help each person really listen to others. So in that sense, kind of advocating for each person, advocating that each person gets to say what's important and is heard. There's lots of flexibility in a mediation process, including the timing of it. When people meet and when they're brainstorming. You can include other professionals, and certainly if it's a legal dispute, people are, at least I encourage people to get independent legal advice, so draw on resources such as retained lawyers, financial experts like WENDY, mental health professionals. All these people can be drawn in as needed to help people gain more understanding and make better decisions. So have here just another small funny pause. The cartoon, the woman, I guess it's the wife because it's a divorce mediation. She says it's only win-win if I win twice, and that's supposed to be humorous. It's actually not what we mean by win-win. And I hope you've been able to see that as we're going along here.
Another process and way of handling conflict is collaborative practice. Darla and I are both collaborative practitioners, and that means that we've taken special training to help parties negotiate through a series of meetings. That process uses the interest-based approach that we've been talking about before, and it absolutely fosters open, honest communication. In litigation or going to court, oftentimes there will be a withholding of information to gain advantage. That's not the case in collaborative practice. In collaborative practice, the parties manage and control the pace and the process. It's more flexible and less expensive. Second point on here says that the parties and the lawyers sign a contract committing to settlement. Now, separate from mediation, in this collaborative practice, each party has their own lawyer. But everyone involved, the parties, the lawyers, signs a contract that actually creates, call it a container, if you can envision a safe container where everyone is committed to a solution. And this works wonders, through achieving a settlement and moving forward. There is a team model. People that could or can be involved are many, but they would include mental health professionals, mediators, financial advisors, or perhaps a child development expert to help with ensuring that the needs of the children are met and in a full and substantive way. The key outcome of collaborative practice, our hope is that the parties develop communication skills to help them in future conflicts or in conflicts with this person. Darla's now going to go into collaborative practice in a lot more. So here you go, Darla.
Yeah, so I wanted to, there's a few slides here to help you help compare a litigation or a court process to a collaborative process. And I just got a bit distracted because my computer told me my battery is low, although it's plugged in. I hope I have enough time remaining on my battery. Just giving you a heads up, if I drop off, that's what happened.
Okay, thanks.
So yeah, so the court or a litigation practice versus a collaborative practice, and when we're talking about costs, litigation can get very expensive. You're usually looking at least a $5,000 retainer, and if you're going all the way to trial, you know, $30,000 to $50,000 or more. In a collaborative process, you can control the cost by managing the number of meetings that you have, and the participants are really, whether they're in mediation or collaborative law process, they're really in control of that. This average cost is based mainly on family law cases. However, you know, you can use mediation or collaborative law in any other kinds of disputes, including business disputes, and it's generally going to be a lot less expensive. In terms of time, a court process or a litigation process can be extremely lengthy, and the participants are more or less out of control of the timelines. The timelines are often controlled by the lawyers and their schedules, or court and their schedules and filing deadlines and things like that. In a collaborative process, people are in control of the timelines. They can meet as often as they want or not as often. And so on average, again, this average is based mainly on a family law case, but generally for other cases, a much better timeline. In terms of process, you can see on the litigation side, that column there, there's a lot of terms that, unless you are a lawyer, probably don't mean a whole lot to you. But in a collaborative process, it's much more geared towards helping people solve their own problems. And you can see the steps are more simple. You sign a contract committing to a settlement. You have a series of meetings with a mediator or with your lawyers and other professionals. And that's the process of how you resolve your conflict. In terms of the results, we've talked a lot about the results on the collaborative side. On the court side, it's a very positional approach. Oftentimes what happens in litigation is you get, you know, so far along down the line, you've spent a ton of money, it's emotionally exhausting, and so you've run out of money, you've run out of energy, and oftentimes what can happen is people just give up, or they make agreements and make decisions under a lot of pressure, that arm twisting thing. So I really see this as a paradigm shift where, at least for me, I often see that court or a litigation process as really a power over process. And by that I mean it's a process whereby people are making decisions based on a fear of the consequences. And also oftentimes someone else is deciding those things for you, like a judge, or if you haven't yet got to court, often lawyers have a lot more input into what the decisions will be. Whereas in a collaborative process, I really view that as a power with kind of paradigm. And by that I mean what people are doing in a collaborative process is working with each other, trying to find solutions that meet everybody's needs. So you make agreements because your needs are met and the other person's needs are met, and you understand that if the other person's needs aren't met, then yours aren't likely to be met either. So you work really hard to uncover solutions that work for everybody.
So here's a picture of an orange, and I'm going to relate the Great Orange Dispute. And let's just say the two people in this dispute were Darla and Wendy. Now, they were both high achievers, So they decided they wanted to grow oranges in the city of Saskatoon, at least in the province of Saskatchewan. Now they looked to their skills, and Darla was much more a gardener. So Darla chose the pot that they put this orange tree in. She chose the soil, and she chose where they put it, where it got the most light and not much wind, so that it could grow strong and healthy. Wendy took on the watering. So she watered it religiously every day, just as it was needed. And she deadheaded it and took really good care. So the important point is they equally shared in the growth and the nurturing of this orange. But the orange grew, and there it was, a beautiful orange sitting there in front of you. And they couldn't decide how to deal with it. So, to resolve the dispute, they went to court. And look, that was what happened. The judge decreed a fair and equal result. How much fairer could it get? You cut it in half, and each of you takes half. Now, as Darla and Wendy were walking out of the courthouse, they were so mad. They said to their lawyers, how could you do this? This isn't anywhere near what we wanted, what we needed. It doesn't meet our needs. It doesn't meet our interests. And the lawyers said, well, what would have met your needs and interest? And Darla and Wendy said, don't you know? Darla's addicted to orange juice. The whole reason for the orange tree and all the work we put into it was orange juice. And Wendy loves canning. She needed the rind of that orange to be able to make her marmalade. So it's a fairly simplistic and sort of funny example, but it really shows how when needs and interests are not communicated, what the result can be. In this case, what happened when they went to court. We've talked about a lot of cooperative options to solve disputes. You can see that these solutions, whichever one they are, can be used to resolve most conflict. In business, using these cooperative options can save you time, save you money, and probably most important, preserve relationships, whether they be with your employees, your partners, your clients. In personal situations, there's improved communication and quicker and easier resolution. Divorce or separation could be reconciliation too, if we get to the conflict prior to the need to separate. That's an individual situation. We didn't talk about estate, and we dearly wanted to give an estate example, but due to the time commitment, we couldn't. And we have said that this is an introduction, so cooperative options can certainly be used in estate matters. Let's say over a will, where the entire estate is given to one sibling or one child over the other. That's an example. It's really important that we remember Indira Gandhi's quote here, you can't shake hands with a clenched fist. So open mind and listening skills and the right process can certainly help in resolving conflict.
So just a few communication tips to leave you with here. The first one is to just be wary of what gets in the way. So if you're seeing that there's blame and judgment and criticism, just know that that's likely to be getting in the way of you being able to resolve your conflict. And also just going back to the question that we asked at the beginning, what has gotten in the way for you? Just a reflection question to see if what we've talked about today matches up with your experience, or are there other things that get in the way? And another communication tip is just to be able to listen non-judgmentally first to yourself. So what needs of yours are you trying to meet in this particular situation, and what might be the needs the deeper needs and wants of the other person. And so in the situation that you thought of at the beginning, can you begin to imagine that? What are your deeper needs, or what might be the deeper needs of the other people involved? And what is it like for you when you start to imagine that? I did want to make one other point about listening here, which is that it's different from agreeing. And I think this is one reason why oftentimes people have trouble listening, is because in our culture we think that listening oftentimes is the same as agreeing. We think, oh, if I really listen and I really understand that other person and can be in that other person's shoes, then we're afraid that that would mean that I'm agreeing with them, and I'm going to, quote, have to do whatever it is that they're asking me to do, and maybe I don't want to do it because it doesn't actually meet my needs. So listening is very different actually from agreeing. Say what's important to you, what your interests and your values are, and understand others before offering solutions. I'm not saying don't come with potential solutions. That's a good place to start, and it's great to think of ahead of time, but also just, hold those lightly and be open to changing those possible solutions once you hear what's important to other people. And also, when you're coming up with solutions and you're brainstorming, think about what would meet your needs as well as other people's needs.
The next few slides are resources. This first one is resources I would recommend for financial matters. Riley, will people be able to get a copy of this so they have this data? I don't know. Okay. Communication.
Sorry, I muted myself there, Wendy. We can send it out. What we would need though is people that were interested to give us their email address in the chat box, just because of the new Canadian anti-spam stuff.
Okay.
So if you're interested in receiving this presentation, please send us your email in the chat box there, and then I'll make sure that everybody gets it.
Yeah, and the reason I asked that, Riley and Darla, is that we want to give at least 10 minutes at the end for questions, and we're soon coming up to that. So I'm going to flip through these fairly quickly. Collaborative law, we've talked about a fair bit, so we'll move on. Now, Darla and I wanted to offer, this is introductory. There's so much more that we could say on this topic. So if you wanted us to come to your office, to your service group, to your church, to your community, we're very, very passionate about spreading the word on these alternative ways to handle conflict, and we'd be very glad to arrange something with us. So please contact us. Do you have anything else to say, Darla, on that?
Nope.
Okay.
Sorry, and I was also distracted because I was remembering that there was a question in the chat box, so I was thinking about that.
Okay. So thank you for attending. Heads up here about the alternative dispute resolution, and then let's move to questions.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So there was.
Oh,
yep,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Riley.
Okay, I was just going to say the first question was, would you be able to suggest a type of template or format for conflict resolution that we could utilize as a foundation for new business and how to deal with employees?
Yeah, and I love hearing that question. It's a great question. And I actually don't have like a template per se. What I would encourage is just to set up some sort of system that allows people to feel free and safe to say what it is that they really want to say, and really be heard about that without being judged. So I'm guessing that isn't so helpful. But I'd be certainly happy to talk to someone a little bit more about what that might look like. So I can't remember who asked the question, but feel free to give me a call, and I could chat with you a little bit on the phone about that.
And if I could add, it's Wen here. I think one of the first things that comes to mind is setting norms for communication, for bringing things forward, and just setting a culture for the company. And also it depends on the size of the company. You don't want to get too formal when it's, a fairly small company, but having those norms, having those guidelines is critical to the success of all companies. And I too would be willing to speak with you, if you wanted some other ideas. Does that help, Leanne, or do you have another question?
Oh, she's responded and was asking about a conflict flow chart. That is a very, very interesting idea. I will give that some thought. I don't have one that actually comes to mind, but I can see how that could be really helpful.
Okay, and I can see too now there's people here who have said they would like a copy of the presentation, so that's good.
Yeah, I'll make sure I get those out.
Suggestions for mediators in Edmonton. I don't know any mediators in Edmonton. What I would suggest, though, is actually you can find the ADR Institute online, and they actually have part of their mandate is they keep a list of mediators. So you could start there. And the other thing I would say about that is if you're looking for a mediator, to make sure to check out more than one. Give them a call and see if you can sort of quote interview them to find out what it would be like a little bit more to work with them.
And also too, there's a couple in the presentation, the Collaborative Lawyers of Saskatchewan. Many of the members are collaboratively trained, and there are mediators there. So that would be a good resource, as well as what Darla's mentioned, the ADR Institute of Saskatchewan.
Mm-hmm. So I'm noticing it's about 5 minutes to the hour, and wondering if there are other questions or when we need to end, Riley.
Oh, whenever we're ready, I guess here. Yeah, we'll be conscious of everybody's time. If you do have any questions, I guess kind of last call.
There's people typing, I can see, so. We can hear you, Riley.
There, turn my microphone up. Sorry about that. Hopefully that's a little better.
I can hear you much louder now, Riley.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that, guys. I must have turned the volume down when I went on mute there. Yeah, if you have any other questions, I guess now's your chance. If not, I believe all of your contact information is in the slides, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
It is. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I'll email those out to the folks that requested them. And yeah, other than that, thank you very much for attending, everybody. And Wendy and Darla, thank you very much. That was a great presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Riley. Thanks for all your help. And thanks, everybody, for attending. I'm just quickly reading Pam's... sorry, Wendy. I'm just reading Pam's chat there. That was... I don't want to lose track of that. Would we be able to read it once the webinar is over?
No, it'll it'll go away there.
Okay.
So Riley, can we stay online with you for a couple of minutes after we end so that we can write down some of these comments, or?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we'll copy and paste to save it. Thanks, Shirley.
Here, I actually I'll download the chat transcript and send it to you guys.
Okay.
Well, that would be awesome.
Okay, bye everyone. Thanks for taking the time to listen, and we look forward to talking with you some more in the future as necessary. And okay, bye for now.
Great, thanks everybody. Okay, bye.